Here are the top 10 mistakes to avoid making if you want to succeed on Airbnb in 2023. And honestly, number 4 and number 9 are where most people go wrong. Number 1, don't blindly invest in a property in a random market just because you saw someone on the internet making a killing there. I see this happen all too often, and honestly on social media, people always reach out to me, hey, do you think I should invest in this market? And my answer is maybe. It really comes down to the property itself and the investment analysis and understanding if that property will succeed on a conservative forecast. This leads me to number 2, which is to not make emotional investments. The numbers always have to make sense, and when in doubt, make sure to run not just a high side forecast of what the true potential of that property will be, but you also want to base your forecast off a conservative forecast and then also run a less favorable scenario and see what your break-even point is. At the end of the day, I'd rather under forecast slightly and be surprised by more cash flow than less. When you're evaluating properties, don't just look at the occupancy rate and the daily rate. What you have to have a really keen understanding of is the investment, like from a holistic level. So you have to break down the total cost of that investment. What is your down payment? What are the closing costs? What does it cost to rehab the property if necessary? What about furniture and design? What about the permitting or local taxes that you're gonna have to pay to get that property off the ground? Then we look at the average daily rate on sites like AirDNA, find comps on Airbnb, and the average occupancy rate. That's gonna build our forecast for the total revenue that we're gonna bring in. Now, what's trickier with short-term rentals than long-term rentals is we have to forecast much deeper level of occupancy expenses. So beyond property taxes and insurance and maintenance, we are also, as the owner of short-term rentals, responsible for paying things like utility bills, Wi-Fi, and then restocking the property, because again, this is not just real estate, it's also hospitality. So with all of that in mind, we want to see what our cash flow number is, and that is the total revenue minus the total expenses and the mortgage paid or rent if you're doing rental arbitrage. But don't base your number just on a nice cash flow. We want to see what the cash on cash return is for that investment, because ultimately we want to see how hard our money is working for us. This leads me to point number 3, which is to not just look at the most recent 1 to 2 years of data on sites like AirDNA. The reason that is really critical is because the short-term rental or vacation rental industry is changing rapidly. More people than ever are trying to get in the game and get their first property off the ground. Each market is going to be very different from one another, and also with COVID in 2020 and 2021, the travel market data was very, very different in a lot of different places. In a lot of rural markets, such as vacation markets, mountains, lakes, beaches, everyone was leaving the cities and they weren't traveling international. So those markets blew up. The demand was skyrocketing and supply could not keep up with demand. So people were doing extraordinarily well. I have a couple properties in the Smoky Mountains, and in 2021 and the first half of 2022, it was insane. But a lot of investors caught up with that and started buying property there. So if you look at AirDNA, they show you the supply in every market, and that supply trend in those types of markets has gone up dramatically, some 70+% over just the past 2 years. This doesn't mean you can't be successful in markets that have an increased supply, but just be cognizant that supply and demand will dictate what you're able to charge per night at your property. Vice versa, other markets, such as urban markets with decent tourism, like a city like Nashville, Tennessee, that also has a little bit tighter regulation around short-term rentals, may actually present a better opportunity. A lot of people shy away from places that have tighter regulations or permit requirements, but that can actually present a great opportunity because it puts a soft cap on the supply in a market. 1, because less people are interested in investing in a place with regulation, and 2, because there's regulation, there's less supply in the housing market that you can actually acquire and legally rent on Airbnb. So with COVID throwing off the last 2 years of data, make sure we're looking at the past 3 or 5 years of data to make sure we have a good baseline of what we're actually forecasting. Number 4, and this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is don't just invest in the markets that you see on every single top places to invest report on the internet. Why, you might ask? These are the top places to invest. Well, the reason is that everyone and their mother who wants to invest in short-term rentals are reading those same exact reports that pop up on the first page of the Google search. So yes, you can still make really good money in those markets, but you're also competing with some of the top investors in the country. If you do invest in those markets, it is that much more important to execute on the design, execute on providing the ample amount of amenities that compete with the top performing properties, and differentiating yourself from competition. Because at the end of the day, if you don't and you're solely competing on price in a hyper-competitive, really large market like the Smoky Mountains, you're going to struggle to get bookings and get bookings at the rate you're hoping for in the next several years. And maybe the first year or two that you get in one of those markets, you do really well. But we want to invest in real estate for the long term. So we want to be able to compete for years to come, not just the next 1 to 2 years. So make sure you're finding a sustainable market to invest in. This leads me to point number 5, which is to do the appropriate level of research to not just select what market you're going to invest in, but understand what type of property and then what subsection or zip code of that market gives you the best opportunity to succeed. Most people invest in a market and they just look at the other properties and then just copy what everyone else is doing. This can be okay, but over the long term, as it gets more competitive, you need to figure out how to differentiate against your competition. What makes you stand out on the Airbnb or Vrbo splash page? Why should somebody click your listing? And then ultimately, why should somebody convert and book your listing at a higher daily rate and a higher occupancy or frequency than everyone else? So here's a golden tip of how I'm able to differentiate my properties from competition and make a lot more money than most investors in the markets I operate in. Number 1 is to look up the top property section on AirDNA or look on Airbnb and Vrbo and see what properties have the highest quantity of positive reviews and are consistently booking at a premium rate. Understand what amenities they provide. Also, do they have a view? What is their location or proximity to local activities? Are they walking distance from town? Do they have a view of the mountains or are they waterfront? And then amenities, what do they provide that maybe guests when they're traveling, they want to experience on vacation, things that they don't have at home. So things like a hot tub, a game room, a mural on the wall that's interactive. You have to give somebody a reason to pay more for that experience than just staying at home or booking a hotel, right? Because oftentimes they could find a cheap hotel to stay at. So we want to compete on value, not on price. Number 6, and this is becoming increasingly more important, 5 to 10 years ago when Airbnb was just starting and growing, you could put any property up on Airbnb and probably get booked and probably make a killing because the supply was so low. But now it's a very competitive space. Again, it's not just real estate, it's hospitality. People are booking based on emotion, and oftentimes they're booking because they're traveling for a special occasion, such as a wedding, a bachelor or a bachelorette party. Maybe they're going to see their favorite band in concert at this one city they've never been to before. So you have to figure out a way to attract them to your property. This is why I highly recommend working with a professional designer or interior designer who understand and focuses primarily on vacation rentals. My favorite company to use for this is Summer-Led Designs. They're designing my newest property in the mountains of North Carolina. And honestly, it's a 6,700 square foot home. Furnishing and design are the 2 most stressful things about setting up an Airbnb for both my wife and myself. It's the one thing that consumes hours, days of time to furnish even just a small home. You have to think about things you've never thought of before. By outsourcing to a company that does it professionally, 1, it's going to increase your return on your investment. Summer-Led Designs focuses actually on your ROI. So they're only implementing design and furniture that makes sense to get you a higher daily rate and get you booked at a higher frequency. And honestly, everything Summer-Led touches turns to gold, and by gold, I mean cash flow. Number 7 is to do cleaning and maintenance yourself. That is one of the biggest mistakes I see new investors make, or new Airbnb operators, especially if they live close to their property. They'll oftentimes try and save money, right? They're in the money saving mindset, not in the money making mindset. So yes, you can save an extra $100, $200, $300 by cleaning the property yourself. But again, you're then going to trade 2, 4, 6 hours of your time multiple times a week just to clean that property. It's better to pay a professional cleaning company that can help you establish really solid reviews as it pertains to cleaning, and then also outsource any of the handyman or maintenance work. The last thing you want to be doing is working in the business. You should be focused on working on the business. And as you scale to more properties, I imagine a lot of you watching don't just want this as a hobby. You want to reach financial freedom by scaling to multiple properties, cash flowing you tens of thousands of dollars per month. I promise you, you're not going to want to be cleaning toilets and cleaning property and fixing a loose doorknob at 8 p.m. at night when you have 10, 15, or 20 properties. So it's better to set the systems up correctly out of the gate. That way you're prepared to scale. Number 8 is not leveraging software or technology to automate the business. This was one of the biggest mistakes I personally made back in 2019. 1, I didn't know about all the software tech out there, and 2, some of the software tech, even just in 2019, didn't exist as it does today. The top 3 things you need to leverage software for. Number 1 is a property management software. This allows you to automate much of the guest communication, automate calendar syncing between platforms, have a unified inbox so you can manage Airbnb, direct booking, booking.com, or Vrbo, all from one central location. It can even auto-review guests for you. It takes away 90% of the day-to-day manual work or monotonous work that you used to have to do on your own, but automating this through software saves you so much time and money to where you can self-manage if you don't want to outsource to a property management company. The second tool is a pricing software. I use Price Labs. I also highly recommend Wheelhouse. Those tools are dynamic pricing solutions that leverage machine learning, data in the marketplace, analytics, and your own individual customizations that you are, thinking of your property specifically. No one knows your property better than you, but it will change your pricing daily, every single day of the year based on demand in the area and supply and all these other data points. So you will make way more money by charging a premium on high demand days and also by charging less and scooping up demand that you would not ordinarily get booked on those specific days. So the dynamic pricing solutions such as Price Labs are going to change your pricing based on market demand, and it's going to help you get higher rates during premium days, and it's also going to help you boost your occupancy where ordinarily you'd walk right past bookings. I see too many people not leveraging pricing strategies early on or dynamic pricing tools, so they try and self-price or just use Airbnb pricing, which is honestly a recipe to make an extra 20 grand less than you would if you were to use these solutions. And the third tool is some software to automate the turnover or cleaning. The top two are Turno, I can't say it anyways. This used to be Turnover BNB and they recently switched to Turno, or Resort Cleaning. Those are the top two. There's a bunch of other softwares out there, whether it's the US or across the world, but leverage some sort of software that notifies your cleaners when you get a reservation. It notifies your cleaners when it's canceled. So that way you don't have to send screenshots or text, hey, there's a clean this day, a guest is checking out at this time, checking in at this time. They just show up, get the job done. They could submit photos, they could follow your checklist. And that way that automates 100% of the cleaning in the background for you. Number 9 is one of the biggest mistakes you can make when first getting started in Airbnb. And that is to outsource to a property management company when you have the capability to self-manage at least your first few properties. Or number 2, maybe you don't have the time or you already have a few properties and you outsource to a bad property management company. By a bad property management company, I mean one that has thousands of properties, you're just gonna get lost in the numbers, or it's a legacy property manager. This is very true for a lot of vacation markets where they're charging you 25 to 35, maybe even 40% of revenue, and they're not even automating pricing. They're not automating cleaning. They have an in-house cleaning team and maintenance, and it's very clunky. We even see property managers in some vacation markets that are still handing out physical keys at an office to guests. Guests do not want to go to an office anymore to pick up keys like they did 20 years ago. They just want to show up to the property, look on their phone, punch in the 4-digit code, get in, and enjoy their vacation. If you are going to leverage a PM, which I do recommend doing once you get to a certain point, either where you do not have the time to do it, if you have a very busy job and you just want to outsource completely, or if you scale your investments to a point where, hey, I'm financially free, now I want to be 100% time freedom and completely away. Even if you're already leveraging virtual assistants, but you just don't want to manage a team, outsource to a team like Home Team Vacation Rentals. I'm a co-owner and co-founder of that business. We deploy the same exact strategies that enabled me to be super successful and build a 7-figure Airbnb business in just a few years. We deploy the same strategies for all of our homeowners. So if you're gonna outsource to a PM, they must make as much, if not a higher revenue than you can on your own, and it must be 100% hands-off and passive for you. Number 10, and this is really pertinent to 2023, but waiting for the perfect opportunity or timing the market, or waiting till you feel like you have enough money or sufficient funds to start on Airbnb. Most people make the excuse that today isn't the best and they're gonna wait for tomorrow or in a year or two when they're better prepared to start. Honestly, I wish I started 5 years sooner than I did. We got our first property when I was 27 years old. I waited so many years just trying to study and know everything about Airbnb, know everything about real estate so I could avoid all the mistakes. That's a bad mentality. You need to fail quick and fail fast, and honestly probably pay for mentorship or find a free coach or mentor to help you avoid some of those mistakes. And then secondly, as it pertains to how much money you need, I thought I needed hundreds of thousands of dollars to get invested into real estate, but the truth of the matter is there's other ways to get started with little or no money. The number one, and this is very popular in any form of real estate, is to find a partner or leverage other people's money. So many people start with nothing and they leverage someone who has the funds but not the time, and you guys partner together where you bring the hustle and the know-how and they bring the money, and then you can partner on any type of deal. Number 2 is called rental arbitrage. Rental arbitrage is where you can start with honestly $8,000 to $10,000 on a small apartment or small home, and all you need is money for furniture, security deposit, and maybe first month's rent. You're renting a place, garnering permission from the landlord to then furnish and sublet it out or re-rent on a short-term or mid-term basis on Airbnb or something like Furnish Finder. This is amazing because it takes way less money to start, and the return on your investment is usually far higher because there's no down payment or closing costs. Now, you don't get some of the benefits that you get with owning real estate, but this is an amazing way to start and scale fast. And then the last way is through co-hosting or property management. You can co-host someone else's listing or manage for them and charge a percentage of revenue as your fee. No money out of pocket from you, all hustle and networking. You guys can do it, I promise.